All right. All right, we are back with another episode after this amazing July 4th weekend. I hope everyone had a fantastic time. I had a great time. It's unfortunate that we ended up leaving our Rochester area because there's a place we go to all the time. I'm gonna clue you in on an amazing location. It's called Put in Bay, Ohio. It's an island where it is basically Charlotte Beach on steroids. If you've never been to Charlotte Beach, I know we have listeners all around the country who watch us online. It's a fantastic area that basically gives me insight into what Charlotte could potentially look like. And it's so sad seeing the potential and then coming back home and then coming back to reality. There was one time when there was a police siren the entire time that we were there. One single time, and it was because a looked like a young lady got a little too inebriated, and so they showed up to help her get into a medical transport. That was it. That was really it. There was no other sirens going on. There was a ton of people out there. It's a lot of partying, it's a lot of eating, a lot of restaurants. They got a nice port area, they got a nice boardwalk area, they've got some pretty nice hotels and stuff. It's beautiful. But then come back to reality and come back to Rochester, where we have basically, I would hate to say it, but it seems like a complete downgrade. You come back to police sirens, you come back to motorcycles and cars racing down the street. It's like we came back to lawlessness. And that's the part that really gets me about Rochester. It's we've kind of just given up. It seems like the good population has allowed the bad population to just basically take over. And it's crazy to me that if we were to stand up, we meaning the good citizens of Rochester, were to stand up against the nonsense, were to kind of handle things on our own, we would essentially be the ones that get arrested. We would be the ones who would find ourselves getting into court, having to hire an attorney, having to get bailed out of jail, probably. It just it kind of boggles my mind when you travel to other areas that it wasn't like it's not like this area is more affluent. The dollar amounts that we spent there when we went to, let's say we went out to breakfast. You go to breakfast nowadays, it seems like, I don't know if it's just me, anyone else out there, please do feel free to comment on our social media or call into the show 346-3000. How much does it cost for you and your significant other to go out for breakfast, to go out for lunch? I want to get your insight because to me, what I see every time me and my wife go out, let's say it's breakfast. Let's say we each have two mimosas. We have a standard, size breakfast. It ends up being like 100 something dollars. It's insane. You go to lunch. Let's say you do the same. Like maybe you have a burger, or I like Reuben sandwiches. Go out to lunch and it ends up being like $80. For what reason? What reason? Where's our tax money going? Because it seems like we're getting inflated to the point of no return. Our taxes keep getting increased. Our dollar doesn't it doesn't buy the same amount of items at the grocery store. Your gas keeps getting going up. My electricity usage, my gas usage keeps going up somehow, or maybe they just keep increasing their costs. It seems like they're just pricing us out of existence. And I don't want to be someone that's all doom and gloom here. There needs to be some type of actionable items that comes from this feeling. But am I the only one feeling that way? And I really don't think so. I really believe that one of the major topics happening in our country right now is how people just are feeling the pinch. One of the main concerns is, wasn't my savings account much higher 4 years ago? Wasn't my tax bill a lot lower than it was, or a lot higher than it was 4 years ago? It just seems like I'm being priced out of existence. I wouldn't say that I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, or, job to job, whatever it may be. But man, that checking account really dwindles pretty quickly after all the bills are due. And then going out on vacation, we go on vacation, let's say we usually do like a 4-day weekend, because I actually am very okay with just being out of work for 3, 4 days max. Once that fifth day hits, I'm like, I'm ready to be productive. I don't know if that's like an issue. Do you see that as like I have a work issue? Am I too caught up in the daily grind of making the next dollar? But I'm ready to go back to work. Like today, I was happy to wake up. My alarm went off. I didn't press snooze at all. I woke up, took my dog for his walk, got in the shower, got ready for the day, got the mind right, ready for the day. That's how I like to start off my day. Get the mind right, go on a nice walk with my dog, maybe get some ideas out flowing. My dog walk talks, get the sunlight in my eyes. I don't look directly at the sun, but I look upwards. I feel as though getting that sunlight is very integral to kind of getting past the mental state of living in Rochester. I know I'm not the only one that feels this kind of way, where I can't say that I'm depressed by any means, but man, it's tough living in Rochester. And that's really tough coming from me, because I am, in my own opinion, Mr. 585. I freaking defend my city like it's no other. I love my city. I love my neighborhood. I think I live in one of the greatest neighborhoods you can find in America. Charlotte area is beautiful to me. But man, this summer has been crazy so far already. It's just nonsense. And so it's like, well, why do I keep going out and spending money when nothing's being done to handle the nonsense? We got people who are afraid to go down to the beach. To me, that's crazy. I'm not afraid to go down to the beach, but at a certain time of the day, I probably would not go. Once that sun starts going down, I tend to find myself heading home. But I think is it normal? Is that where we are? Is that supposed to be normal, where 8:30, 9 o'clock is like, hey, go home? I mean, it's probably better for you anyways, but to feel unsafe in a beautiful area, to feel like you might get into some kind of dangerous situation, that's not how I want to live. But it seems like that's our everyday, where it's just continued nonsense. You see on social media accounts, there's certain ones that are dedicated specifically for crime alerts, and you see the nonsense happening in the city. You see the backup, meaning that there's not enough police to even answer the calls. You try calling 911 sometimes and you get voicemail. You call 911 because you see something happening, and a police officer doesn't show up for a few hours, if even then. Sometimes they won't show up till the next day to get some type of report from you, because they'll tell you, "Hey, look, we're backed up. We had 3 stabbings last night. We had a bunch of domestic disputes. that were going to end up getting bigger. We had a bunch of fights, group fights that were happening, a couple shootings, random shootings into the air, into houses. This is the city we're living in. That's my, it really hurts to go somewhere else and not hear the sirens and not hear the chaos and not see the nonsense on the news. And you come back home and it's like you're inundated with it. Fred online said it's the current environment that our elected officials have built. I don't think they purposely built that though. I think they meant well, but we keep voting in the same people over and over again. I think Congress has a 12% approval rate. It's definitely less than 15%, but over 90% of them keep getting voted right back in. And that's what bothers me. Being, in the business world, if you keep making the same mistakes, you never learn. Maybe you're not the right CEO, maybe you're not the right employee, maybe you're not the right supervisor. Maybe you need new management. You fix the issue. You fix the decision makers. You fix the ones who are in position of power to change the outcomes. But what have we done here? Our city is overran by nonsense all the time. Our country has gotten to the point where, I mean, Aaron just put on there, when you have people putting groceries and utilities on credit cards, we have a problem. Yeah, I don't think people realize the credit card debt issue we have going on. If you think the real estate bubble was bad, man, wait till this credit card bubble hits. And I really truly believe that it's just being propped up at this time, at this point, where we're kind of not really feeling it quite yet. But it seems like we're on edge of something. It seems like we're on the edge of something. We're gonna take a little break here. 346-3000 is the number to call, or jump online on our social media pages, politically correcting podcast social media pages. Feel free to give us your insight as well. We'll come back right after this at the WYSL stations. All right. Can you guys hear the radio show at all? I think you can only hear me. Aaron says no. No, you can't hear the station at all. You can't hear like nothing from that. So you only hear a blank background. Only me. Yep. All right. I'll figure it out. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm gonna turn the audio up. Can you hear it now? I like to keep it down low because barely. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, there'll probably be feedback on the radio show itself if I were to keep it up. So I gotta keep it lower. We'll figure out the audio thing online, but you guys can feel free to conversate with me here. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. All right. I am Jose Solo. I'm tired of being all by myself. The stress level is not good. That's another part as well. I do my best to give it to the Lord every day, and He always makes it happen. But I am not where I would like to be financially. Oh, watch out because that mentality is what pushes people towards having a lot more mental issues. I thought listen. It looked like there was somebody behind me, but it's my arm that's off the camera. I was like, what the heck was that? Um, it's mirrored image. So what's looking on my left on here, it's actually over here. Anyways, you just saw me get scared for no reason, like a little vagina. All right, we're coming back right now. All right, we are back with the conversation here. We had more comments online at the Politically Correcting Facebook page. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere you can find us. We are there. And second call I've coming in. I'm gonna start telling people, how dare you call me while my radio show is going, because that means you're not listening in. Someone said, I'm tired. I'm doing it all by myself. The stress level is not good for my health. I do my best to give it to the Lord every day, and He always makes it happen, but I'm not where I would like to be financially. That's the tough part because that stress level, oh man, that could be the snowball effect where you believe you're supposed to be at a certain level at a certain point in your life. A lot of times that comes from comparisons, right? You compare yourself to other people. I think that's one of the main reasons why we need to keep our kids off social media until they are mentally actually prepared for that kind of social interaction where, we only post, for the most part, we only post the good things that happen in life. Rarely do you post or see someone post something that's negative happening in their life. And that's weird to me anyways. Why would you post something negative happening in your life? Like, it just seems like you just want attention at that point. But sometimes your social media is kind of like you're getting that stress out. But watch out, because there's people online that they love the downfall. They love to see the downfall. It's a sick and twisted world we live in. Not only that, next topic I'm gonna get into here is the propaganda manipulation that is happening all over social media. We just had a lot of social media influencers. I'm doing air quotes here because I don't believe in that. If you're listening to someone influence you on how you should live your life or how to make decisions, then you're not making it for yourself. And that goes for teachers as well. That's freaking teacher influencers who are teaching our kids what to think instead of how to think. My time in the military, I was a military intelligence sergeant. I got there actually pretty quickly because I was freaking pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie. But I was in during 9/11 and I saw what happened in New York City during 9/11. I saw the, buildings come down, the collapse of the buildings, the attack at the Pentagon, the news reports that came out immediately after, because we were all over it. That was my whole entire job, was to make sure that I was all over every media news source that I could find. If people were talking, if they were posting, I mean, social media wasn't at that time, but there were chats happening, online. Um, my job was to keep an eye on things. So I knew what was happening and what the actual truth was. I had to be able to look through the propaganda, look through the manipulation. 9/11 was a big, big, big eye opener on what our government was capable of. Another eye opener was COVID. That COVID propaganda, man, that machine was hard at work, very hard at work. The fact that they were giving out burgers, they're giving out beer so that you can get a vaccine for a virus that really attacked those who were, for the most part, statistically speaking, because again, we're live on the different social media platforms who would like to censor this type of information. We're getting out burgers and beers and French fries out to people who were obese. The number one threat for COVID was people who were over 65 and were living with 3 or more comorbidities. That was all over the scientific world. We saw it. And so if you were over 65 and living with 3 or plus comorbidities, that means you were probably obese, you had heart conditions, you had, you know, gastrointestinal, I don't freaking know. All I know is you were obese and fat and lazy. That's all I knew. So the first thing I said, get outside and go for a walk, go for a run. During those 2 weeks that they said, 2 weeks, I'm using air quotes again here, that we're supposed to be shut down, that was a great time for me. I took my dog for so many walks. He got to know all of Turning Point Park. We found all different types of things down there. But they told you to stay inside. They told you to wear 2, 3 masks. They told you to socially distance. They told you, get this vaccine and you won't get it. Get this vaccine and you won't spread it. Everything changed. Remember, this was another part too. They were giving sneakers out. This is the county was giving sneakers out to city kids. And I actually emailed the county and I said, or I asked, what information are we giving parents so that they're aware of the possible side effects from the vaccine? That way they know what to do, what to look for, in case something comes up. They don't they can see that it's probably a natural occurrence or it's something to keep an eye on. They might need to bring their child in for an evaluation by a licensed physician, a licensed medical practitioner. You know what the response was that I got? Not a single response. Not a single response to that question. Man, propaganda was hard at work. We saw it. I mean, those of us who know history, I don't know too much history. That's why we got, Lavelle Lewis on the show. It's unfortunately he's not going to be with us for a little bit of time. I'm not quite sure how long, but history showed propaganda worked with Hitler and how he made people view the Jews, right? We had multiple different wars that were started because of propaganda. We dropped a bomb on Hiroshima, even though the war was pretty much over. And we've had multiple endless wars that continue to go on and on and on for the sake of democracy, for the sake of freedom, because we are somehow the purveyors of freedom and democracy in the world. But there are a lot of things out there that propaganda machine was hard at work. And I kind of want to talk to this because this is some things that I've taken deep dives on. And I want to give you my insights so that maybe you start having your own insights because I don't know everything, but I know some things. Vegetable oil. Vegetable oil has been found to cause heart problems. What's the problem with it? Well, the problem is that it's cheap. That's the big problem. When you have olive oil for freaking $8, $9, $10 for a small bottle of it, and you got vegetable oil that's, let's call it $5, $6, $7 for a freaking gallon of it. After you spent the last 3.5 years of destroying the dollar, causing inflation to jump up, causing taxes to go up, causing our dollar to just not be worth anything, people are going to go towards cheap alternatives. Margarine replaced butter. Look at the history of that. Look at how long it has taken for margarine to pretty much overtake butter completely. It's very hard to find like official butter. It's very easy to make butter though. I found that because during COVID, I've looked to, okay, what can I make myself to try and get away from packaged foods? Because boy, oh boy, our food, man, America's food, we got some problems. I know of multiple people that have gone overseas to other countries, to Italy, to Japan, who have stomach issues or have, issues with easily gaining weight. Inflammation is really the concern. If you take a look at go into a deep dive on inflammation, there's a lot out there for that. But they can go to these other countries and the same foods that they eat here, they eat over there, and they don't have the same inflammation issues. They don't have the same dietary issues. They don't have the same issues. If you don't think they're freaking killing us, look at what the FDA approves for our health. I'm using air quotes again. For our health, fat-free, sugar-free. We look at that. We look at calories before we look at the actual ingredients. So I want to try and tell people my insight into this. Look at how much our food is processed. Look at the ingredient list. And if you have an alternative between the two, buy the one with less ingredients. Which is crazy to me that more often than not, they usually are higher priced. How do we have something that has less ingredients in it, but it costs more? That's insane. That makes no sense. But they've brought that whole propaganda machine. Again, propaganda is not a negative term. It can be used negatively, as you've seen so far already. It can be used in nefarious ways. I think one of the most nefarious ways they've been using it in most recent years, not only with our food items and how much they've pushed processed crap on us, and then push you to pop a pill or take a shot for your health, or they give out free vaccines using air quotes again. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. It's just taxpayer vaccines. That's all it is, taxpayer paid. But when it comes to actual needs like insulin, we can give out free vaccines to everybody, but we can't control the price of insulin, or we can't give that away for free. Our health system is screwed. Our food system is screwed. But they've turned it political. If you are America first, you are an extremist. If you want to make America great again, you are an extremist, and you should be dealt with and ostracized from society. I don't believe in that propaganda. I think we should be America first. I think our wallet should be closed. We'll be back after this break. 346-3000 is the number to call. Definitely go online, our social media pages, join in the conversation. We got a lot of comments on here. We'll be right back at WYSL station after this. All right. Got a bunch of things here. Let me jump in here. Aaron, you disagree with me. How dare you? I think we can not be where we want to be financially, but not because of comparison, but because we can't afford everyday expenses and we're working in positions that should theoretically be paying us enough by a certain age we have goals to reach. Right? Oh, I think that's the issue. We we're kind of already the propaganda worked already with telling you that by a certain age you should be at a certain position. But you've got, let's call it an even 80 years. Let's just say an even 80 years to live your life. You think you're supposed to know where you're supposed to be by age 40? You've only lived half your life. You think you're supposed to be where you are financially with only living half your life? Well, the problem was we need that cell phone, that new upgraded cell phone. We need that new upgraded car. We need that new house that has more rooms than we even need. Has more bathrooms than are even being used. Well, just in case someone's right? Well, it takes a lot of money. RG&E, a lot of RG&E costs to heat that place up, to air condition that place up. I think that's go back before to where we are now. Back to when we were teenagers. Well, if you go to college, you'll be able to afford this, that, and the other. You'll be able to get a good job, make this much money. All college graduates make this much or more. Off your high school, you only make this much. Well, how much do I need to live? How much do you really? You don't need that car. You could take your bike. You could take RTS bus. Just saying, you don't need the house. You can live with your parents. You can live with friends. You can have roommates. I'm not sitting here judging by any means. What I am saying though is we have made decisions based on where we believed or perceived we're supposed to be in life. And I'm not, trust me, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm preaching to Jose here. You know, do I need a 2024 Jeep Wrangler? No, of course not. I can have a 1991 Geo Metro. I had actually a Ford Probe, 1991 Ford Probe GT. That was no car. All those processed foods yeah, we have so much processed foods in America. Inflammation is a root of most health issues. Aaron, you're on point with that one. It can be fixed if people take the time to learn the basics of nutrition and exercise. And fasting, well, you've seen on a previous episode about fasting, they said that it increases your chance of heart attacks, which is absolutely absurd. I just want to put that out there. It's absolutely absurd. Fasting is 100%, I can't say 100%. Talk to your doctor. I'm not a doctor. Fasting is good for you. Our education system is screwed. Oh, it's funny. The radio just goes, yes, yeah, it's absolutely screwed. I'm on fire today. Oh man, I try to be. Most of this wasn't even on my you should see my notes. I have notes for every radio show, and, a lot of this is not even in my notes. I'm just kinda go off. I'm really tired of everything that's going on, and I hate to be with it, a curmudgeon? Is that a good word for it? Curmudgeon? Yep. Yes. Let me see. Hey, guys, did you hear Bobby D on that line? Did you hear him speak on that? Alright, yeah, yeah. We'll skip on calls. I should probably stop telling people to call in then. Try Ozempic, hard to come by for those with glucose issues. Oh, no. Fred, how dare you try Ozempic? Another pill. I don't know anything about glucose. Doesn't coconut oil help that? I'm pretty sure alcohol does. Personal goals, not societal goals. Yes. Well, your personal goals are usually based on societal goals, usually, because you see what that gets you in life, right? I don't believe that, which you're saying basic expenses, inflation is killing us. Yeah, sounds good. Coming back after this break, guys. Basic expenses, inflation is killing us. Yeah, sure is. All right, we are back. Thank you for joining us as I kind of go off on my own here with just the feeling of where we are in America after the 4th of July celebration. I hope you had an awesome time. I had a great time. This is a politically correcting show. I am the Jose Pio solo dolo today, but just experiencing other cities compared to the city I live in, the city I pay taxes in, the city I spend all of my time and attention on trying to improve. Just seeing the vast difference in a city that takes politics very seriously, takes holding people accountable seriously. We just in Ohio, Put in Bay, Ohio, one of my favorite places. We go every single year. Today was the sixth time we've been there, I think. I highly recommend it. Check it out. We were just there for 4th of July. Awesome fireworks show. I'm not even into fireworks, and it was an awesome show. Um, but we've gotten into the propaganda machine, talking about propaganda, talking about health issues and how they've kind of pushed things onto us, pills, shots, processed foods, just a propaganda machine hard at work, tying that into politics though, because our show is kind of political. I hate the fact that they've kind of made America first, or being America first, a a sign for the far, far right extremist, the ultra mega MAGA. What's wrong with making America great again? What's wrong with making it so that we are first in line with our money? I think that's my biggest issue right now with the leaders of America. We keep voting in politicians who have no real life experience. And then they get caught up in the system. They get caught up in the Washington D.C. freaking area of how things are done when you can go in as a regular citizen, become someone that gets paid, I don't know, what do you get paid there? 180,000, $210,000 a year. But then again, remember, you have a home, you got a family a lot of times. Let's say you're living in, I don't know, Brooklyn, and you got a family, household expenses, yada, yada, yada. You still have to go to Washington, D.C. So a lot of times they have an apartment there. They have travel expenses. So it's very expensive to be a congressperson for sure. But how do you come out becoming a multi-millionaire? How is it that they can go in making $210,000 a year, spending between their two households, basically spending, let's call it an even $100,000 on taxes, which means you walk away with another $100,000 in take-home pay, and you've got a mortgage and rent. You've got food, you've got travel expenses, you got all that. It takes a lot of money to be a congressman. So how is it that they come out being multimillionaires? Man, they're just really good investing, I guess. Should they be investing? Should politicians who are in charge of legislation and holding these big corporations accountable to what they're doing to our country, to our land, to our air, to their workers, should they be allowed to invest in those same companies? Should they be allowed to have expenses paid for by lobbyists? Should these lobbyists or these PACs out there who are donating tens of thousands of dollars to campaigns to sway this person to vote one way or another, should they be allowed to do that? I think this is a stupid question. It's a very stupid question. No, of course not. But House Democratic leadership instructed members this week to reject a Republican bill, I'm using air quote, Republican bill, that seeks to require proof of United States citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. This is Axios. The GOP legislation is called the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, otherwise known as the SAVE Act, would require documentary proof of United States citizenship to vote in federal elections. So there's this thing called a whip. The whip, if you've seen House of Cards, great show. That person is basically tasked with getting their people in line to vote a certain type of way. Well, in a whip question, which is a compilation of the week's votes with instructions for how leadership wants members to vote. Again, how political leadership wants members to vote, not how citizens want members to vote. The House Minority Whip, Miss Catherine Clark, Democrat from Massachusetts, ordered House Democrats to vote no on the bill. Ordered. Again, this is Axios reporting. This isn't Fox News. This isn't Breitbart, where everything is some far right conspiracy website. This is Axios saying that the House Minority Whip ordered House Democrats to vote no. Quote, as we've seen a number of times this Congress, House Republicans continue to irresponsibly call into question the credibility of our elections. The whip question reads, despite numerous recounts, challenges in court, and deep dives by conservative think tanks, there has been zero evidence of the widespread fraud that this bill purports to target. That's just a flat out lie. That's a flat out lie. Just look it up for you. Don't just take everything I tell you without a grain of salt, because I have my own personal biases. Although I think most people know the whole reason behind the politically correcting show is to kind of bridge that divide, to kind of cut through the nonsense, the BS that they push out there on both sides again. Trust me, I know both sides push their own type of diabolical propaganda. But House Speaker Mike Johnson released a 22-page memo in support of the bill, which points to evidence that illegal immigrants have registered to vote in numerous states, including Massachusetts, Ohio, Virginia, Arizona, California, Illinois, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And we've seen this, I'm going to use the word diabolical again, diabolical influx of, I'm going to use the term illegal immigrants coming into this country, seemingly with no vetting, with no follow-up, with no support to try and say, no, 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 you guys can't come here. No, no, no. What they did is they just essentially opened up the floodgates. And there's been many times people have said over the years that they were going to try to manipulate the census to make it so that a certain party basically has rule over this country for many years to come. I feel as though if you are against requiring that a voter show that they are actually a US citizen, then you're anti-American. That's as simple as I can get it. As simple as I can get it. You're anti-American. And there's actually people out there, and there's actually PACs out there and lobbyists who are trying to say that illegal immigrants should not only be counted in the census, but should have a say in our elections. What? What? I know I'm not going crazy. I know this is nonsense. And I know that if you vote no for a bill that says that we require you to have proof that you're a United States citizen, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to have proof of being a United States citizen. Your freaking ID shows it. Your passport shows it. Your enhanced ID that New York State requires you to have. Your or whatever, your passport ID that they require you to have nowadays to go to Canada or Mexico. That they require that of us. If I go buy Sudafed, I need an ID. If I go buy antihistamine in general, I need to have an ID. I can't go to a liquor store. I can't get on a plane. I can't go into Canada without proper ID. This is basic fundamentals of us as a country. We do need to have a border, and we should not have random people coming into our country that we don't know what they're capable of, what they've already done in another country, to come here and do their same thing and be able to vote. What? Oh. So there's actually a local group called League of Women Voters who are pushing for us to call our congressman, Joe Morelli, to tell him to vote no on this bill. Do you think that's appropriate? Because there's a lot of push out there from the Greg Sadwick campaign to get people energized to show up, to volunteer, to make calls, to get out there and just push the narrative, push the good propaganda that it's time for new leadership, that it is time to get somebody else in there that understands business, the red tape of business, that is going to vote no for the right things and for the right reason. Not because some PAC said no, not because some lobbyist said not to vote for something, not because some freaking whip said not to vote for something, but someone who represents the people, the average everyday human freaking being in this country that is so tired of this nonsense. Just so tired of it. We got to get past this political party BS stuff that people keep pushing, even on both sides. Vote blue no matter who, vote right no matter what, vote down the line, yada yada. Vote the person. Just vote the person and know who you're voting for. Actually, go to the website, call them. Their phone number is right on the website. Trust me. Call them up. What's your stance on this? What's your stance on the SAVE Act, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act? Because this is the basic fundamentals of what our right to vote should be based on. That we are U.S. citizens and we deserve our right to have our voice heard. WYSL Station, we are the politically correcting boys. I am the Jose P.O. I'm solo dolo today, but I'll be right back after this break. Join us on social medias, Facebook, Instagram. Have your voice heard. We're going to talk a little bit more after this break. The comments kind of dropped off there. I see Fred can't post comments at some destinations. Uh-oh. Already blocked on something? Mm, Instagram Live. That sounds reasonable. Thanks, Fred. I think I'm a pretty reasonable person. I might be biased in that belief, but I believe that I am a pretty reasonable person. I'm texting all the people that called me during the radio show. Can I see this? Yeah, I can see your comments, Karen. No Bobby. Okay. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the migrants situation, specifically in New York. It's a little, it's a little ridiculous what has been happening in New York. Wait till you hear the dollar amounts. Wait till you hear the dollar amounts. All right, cool. Thank you. Coming right back now. Oh, after this break. Now we'll come back. All right. Now we got a little Latin flavor on the show here. Love it. We are here at the WYSL station. We are the politically correcting boys. I am the Jose P. I'm solo dolo today, but we've been talking about recently about the migrants situation and how they're it seems as if the Democrats are really kind of trying to push for them to be able to vote because why would you tell your leadership to vote no on the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act? Why would you tell people to vote no on a bill that would require documentary proof of United States citizenship to vote in federal elections? What is wrong with you? That's our electeds right now. This is great timing for that because we do have an election coming up. And people should be aware that there are anti-American leadership in our country. That's all you can be labeled as anti-American. You should not be in that position of power if you're going to sit there and say, nah, I'm going to go ahead and allow illegal immigrants to vote. Because they're doing, I want to say worse than that right now, but taking away your money is a pretty big issue as well. New York City, this is this just blows me away. New York City hotels housing migrants have brought in over $1 billion in taxpayer funds since converting their buildings into migrant shelters. New York City is spending an average, New York City, they say New York City, but the actual, coffers of this money are you, your citizens. New York City is spending, we're going to call it the citizens are spending an average of 156 per room per night on hotel rooms that house migrants. I think that's incorrect. I'm pretty sure it's 156 per room per person per night. And because it does say with some rooms costing the city over $300 per night, according to a report. The city has spent about, get this, $4.88 billion on the migrant crisis. Just the city. And again, it's not the city, it's the citizens of New York. Because it's not just New York City that pays for that. We also help pay for that if you live in New York State. So we're going to go ahead and say that the New York taxpayers have spent about $4.88 billion on the migrant crisis over the last few years, the report notes. 1.98 billion of which has gone towards housing. You literally have people out there on the Democrat side for the most part, but there are people who are more moderate, who are more, independent, who are fighting for housing needs as well. We have houses in this city and buildings in this city, I'm talking Rochester in general, that are disgusting. I have been in some of them. These freaking disgusting landlords. You can't even call them landlords. They're freaking slumlords. I've seen what they allow people to live in and still charge rent for. It's obscene. I have literally seen, I've walked into a kitchen where I can see light because the roof had holes in it. It was just crumbling. I had to wear a mask. I don't wear a mask. I had to wear a mask to walk through it because there was just mold everywhere. Walking through the place, you feel like you could fall through the floor. And the city, in response, will say, "Well, we don't have enough code enforcers to enforce the code." Well, if we don't have enough code enforcers, then hire more. Or we don't have enough money to. Really? Because we got $1.98 billion of New York taxpayer dollars going towards housing illegal immigrants. While some of the nearly 2 billion that has spent on housing has gone to city shelters, roughly 80% of the shelters being used by the city are motels or inns. According to a report, the city has reached contracts in the millions with multiple New York City hotels, including a $5.13 million a month deal with the Row New York City Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Midtown Manhattan? Are you freaking kidding me? Midtown Manhattan, that's where we're putting illegal immigrants? Meanwhile, the Crown Plaza, JFK, has landed a $2 million per month deal for use of its 335 rooms. The trend hasn't gone unnoticed. So we're just talking about the housing on that end. But what about the fact that if there's not visitors staying in in those hotels and motels and those inns, if those aren't visitors who are coming to New York City for fun, for work, for different conventions, what then happens to the businesses around it? Well, says the trend hasn't gone unnoticed by business owners in the area of the hotels who have complained that the buildings that were once filled with customers who flooded the local area with business have now been filled with migrants, saying, our tax dollars are being used to pay for the migrants, and where are we supposed to make revenue? This is a manager at Iron Bar, William Chandler, located across from Royal Hotel, said, how as a business could we function? Why do we have illegal immigrants staying in hotels? I'm not I'm not saying they deserve to be sitting, sleeping in tents or I don't know, in some freaking cage somewhere. But why is it that they always place illegal immigrants in these cities? Well, I can tell you why. Two reasons. One, Democrats. Every major city is run by Democrats. And they have the bleeding heart liberals who are running those cities down to the freaking ground. Number two, those bleeding heart liberals proclaim that their city is a sanctuary city. I remember when Lovely Warren proclaimed it, and I sat there and I posted it real quick. I said, what? We're not a sanctuary. I don't want to be a sanctuary city because that's going to come back to haunt us in the future. That is a very short-sighted thing to say. We are a sanctuary city. We embrace our immigrants. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say that when we have, you know, 12 people per year coming from, I don't know, Afghanistan because they were helping our military to fight against ISIS. A lot easier to say that, but they never look at the long-term ramifications of their decisions. These bleeding heart politicians make short-sighted decisions, and then we have to pay for it later on. We, the taxpayer, have to pay for it later on because they don't lose re-elections. Start voting different. If you want something different to come out of this, this is the year to make that happen. Start voting differently. Voting for another party won't change your party endorsement. I am a Democrat. I will be quick to tell you that there are a lot of Republicans I'd rather vote for than freaking Democrats because I'm not going to vote for the same people that got us into this situation to get us out of it. That's not happening. That's my show today. We'll be back on Wednesday. You guys have a blessed day. Be positive as much as you can. I'd hate to end on a negative tone, but be positive as much as you can and make sure you read ingredients on the food that you buy. Have a blessed one. Thank, thank you. See ya. Man, you guys are missing some good music here. Thanks for joining.